Aloha, I am June Jones of the Houston Roughnecks, and this is the XFL show.
For the love of football. 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 Let's go.
If you smell what the XFL is cooking.
Welcome, football fans. This is For the Love of Football. This is the road to 2022, and this is the XFL show. I'm Alan.
I'm Vince.
And I'm Bryant.
2020 is coming to a close, and while this year was the year the XFL debuted and then unfortunately went away, what matters most is that football was indeed reimagined, and we are still here talking XFL with you on the original official XFL podcast. This is episode 149. This is for you, and this is live, Bryant, live and in color on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. A special show, your baby, your idea.
It's not just for me. It's for you, football fans. This is what this is for. Happy holidays. It's going to be a great show. I'm excited.
It is. And we got Vince back. Vince is back for this very special holiday edition of This is the XFL show. Vince, welcome back. Happy holidays to you. Merry Christmas. And welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me back. Happy holidays to everybody out there. Cannot wait to talk some XFL. I know we got to wait a long time, a whole nother year for this thing to come back up, but I am still very hyped for it.
Yes, we've got a long road to hoe, and we're going to do it together right here at XFL Show on Twitter, on Instagram, and of course, thank you for watching live on YouTube, subscribing to that channel. We're going to be doing this a lot more. Get used to it, because we're here, and we're here live for a very special episode. Vince is back, so we're going to ask him some questions. I'm interested to hear what you have to say, Vince, but we have a special guest, Bryant. We've got coming into the show right now, hot read at the front of the show, unprecedented for This is the XFL show. It's time to talk to the one, the only, the head coach of the Houston Roughnecks in 2020, June Jones. Welcome to the show.
Hello, guys. How are you doing?
Oh, we're great, Coach. Yeah. Thanks. Happy holidays to you.
Yeah, same to you guys.
Coach, we had a crazy year here as XFL fans, but you helped put together what was some of the most fun football in 2020. So I just want to, off the top of the show, just thank you for what you did in Houston with your team on the field, and also the access you gave fans on the sidelines. One of our favorite coaches to watch all season.
Well, it was innovative, and I'm sure the NFL is going to copy some of the things that we did, not just in the TV booth, but I think on the field eventually they will trickle down.
Yeah, we're hoping for sure from the rule book and from the presentation. I wanted to ask you, as a coach, from your perspective, was there anything that was too intrusive regarding the presentation and all the microphones on the sidelines for you?
No. In fact, at first, when they said how they were going to do it, I thought it was going to be. But then afterwards, I felt like it was an advantage because I could the things in the helmets were on all the time, so I could coach the kids up on the sideline when I called a play, looking at the coverage. I could tell them, this, the other thing. So it went right down to the end where when I was in the NFL and in college, they cut that thing off.
Yeah, that was something we were really anticipating to help the offenses, too, with all the communication you had. So I'm sure as a coach you loved that. And then, seeing players interviewed on the sidelines, I'm sure as a coach you might have thought one way about it. But I think overall that was done pretty tastefully by the networks, would you say? I enjoyed it a lot as a fan.
Yeah, no, I thought they did a good job. And I agree with you on what you said. At first, I wasn't real excited about it. But then, it becomes something you have to coach up to the kids too during, before the game, how to handle certain situations. And so you kind of coached them so that it wouldn't become a divisive thing from within.
Coach, let me ask you something real quick on that, is because you had some interactions with some referees during them. Did you ever have to feel like you held back, or you were just like, whatever happens, happens with these mics? Because if this is what they want, this is what they're going to get, kind of
Well,
mentality.
did have some. I always do. But I thought that was handled again pretty good by the network part of it. I said some things that I'm sure caught your attention, and I got a lot of text messages and calls on them. But I tried not to. I try to just leave them alone. But if something's really flagrant, wrong, then I address it with them.
No, for sure. And I think something that came out of all of this, with all the communication, all this, is the star power that the XFL was trying to build, and they did that with PJ Walker. How was it having that man at the helm for you?
Well, I had watched PJ in his first game at Temple when he was a freshman, and he was a true freshman. Played against us. I think we beat him 51-45 or something like that. I can't remember the score, but I remember walking over to him after the game because Matt Rule was the head coach at that time, and I think it was his first game. And he was running a lot of our concepts at the Giants when he was with Kevin Gilbride, who had learned it at the Oilers. And so they were running a lot of our stuff. So I realized that this kid was pretty dang good for a true freshman and live bullets. And I remember walking over and introducing myself to him. And so as soon as I saw his name on the list, and I didn't know how the allocation was going to happen, but we put him down as number one because I had just remembered him from that game. And of course, we evaluated him in the preseason games, the NFL film we had too. But there was no question in my mind he was a player.
Well, that being said, I wanted to ask you something that we saw one of our viewers ask, Alan, is that, or Coach, is that how did that allocation process go with selecting your quarterback? You put PJ one, so so if no one else wanted him one, that's what you were going to get.
Well, I don't really exactly know, but yes, to answer your question, we put him one, and then everybody else had the opportunity to do that same thing, and we were probably, I guess, the only ones that were put him down as number one. If there was a tie on a kid, I think it was allocated by Oliver himself, and I think that's how it shook down. And Oliver Luck's son was a quarterback in Indianapolis and highly recommended PJ too as well. So I think that's how it happened. I really liked the kid from Hawaii that the Battlehawks had, Troy. Was it not Troy? It's
Jordan.
Jordan.
Yep.
And because I had watched him when I was in the CFL, and we put him on our neg list because I really liked him. So between the two, I knew if I had one of those two guys, we were going to be pretty competitive.
That's just a great.
Yeah, they were for sure.
That's So how did it feel seeing him, getting that one start that he did against the Detroit Lions this past season? Did you get to watch that?
Oh yeah, we were. Fortunately, it was on here in Hawaii. I'm in Oregon right now, but in Hawaii, we only get a selected games, and that game was on, so I got to watch him. And I was texting him back and forth before the game, during the game, after the game, and I was just really excited for him to get on film as an NFL starter, because that just extends your career probably another 5 to 8 years.
Yeah, that's great. So important, that game tape.
No, absolutely, especially starting.
Oh, of course. I mean, once you get that film, you could be picked up. You got more avenues out there for sure.
No question about it.
Coach, you've had an illustrious career coaching in at the college level, very successful. A lot at the NFL level, and most recently with the XFL. Which did you enjoy coaching the best? Which area?
I enjoyed, everywhere I am, because it's really, for me, it's more about the people I'm with, the coaches I'm with, and developing the team intangible chemistry that builds winners within the locker room. Now, I enjoy doing that. And to answer your question, I enjoyed them all, but I really, really enjoyed helping at St. Louis High School when I left SMU, and then I coached at Kapolei High School, which was Taulia Tonga Vailoa, who's the starter at Maryland right now. I had him his sophomore year, they had been in existence, I think, as a school for 20 to 25 years and never gone to the playoffs. And we went 11-3, and we won a couple games in the playoffs and almost got to the state championship. And I think that was one of the funnest years I've had.
Yeah, it's got to be very fulfilling, working with those really young kids, and then seeing them, down the road being big stars, wherever they go. Um, Obviously, Coach, you're famous for your offensive system. One of the best to ever do it, in my opinion. The XFL utilized a lot of different rules, like you had talked about, with communication to the players, certain things with play clock, all kinds of different stuff. Do you feel like the XFL, those rules were really suited to your scheme? Do you feel like your scheme had the best opportunity to succeed in the XFL because of the rules?
Well, I think it's, I felt it was not a disadvantage to us for sure. We're throwing the football, and the ability, I thought, with the headset thing, I don't rotate a lot of receivers in there. My four are going to play until they get hurt. And so the ability for those guys to walk back to the huddle, and because they're nonstop running for 3 hours. Okay, I mean, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom, and so the ability for me to call a play and then hear the play and then just walk back to the line of scrimmage rather than jogging back to the huddle and getting the play and doing all that. I thought that was an advantage for what we were doing. We're not a high tempo type offense Art Briles and those guys, but at the same time, uh, I thought we played pretty good. Obviously, I think we ended up number one in the league in offense, and a lot of it was because I thought the helmets and the automation, being able to talk to the players, really benefited us.
Number one in
Awesome.
the league in a lot of categories, I'm sure, not just
Yeah.
offense.
Yeah, and while we were in Houston too, Brian, for training camp, I mean, a lot of people we were talking to, at least, were saying because of the freedom, coach, that you were going to give your receivers and a lot of the players on your offense, at least early on in the season, people were anticipating, and from what they saw in training camp, that your team would come out hot, and you certainly did. And I mean, putting together that team to be so dominant, I mean, it was fun to watch as a fan, but I had to imagine that was a pretty challenging job, being the coach, general manager in a startup league. What would you say was the biggest challenge leading up to kickoff in 2020 for you?
Well, the biggest decision that I made was to kind of give the general manager title to Randy Mueller, and he really helped assemble our team, probably more so than even I did. Although, the PJ Walker, the couple of three or four guys that I really felt strongly about, and Randy wasn't going to take a guy in the draft that didn't want, because that's the worst thing you can do as a general manager. So Randy really did a nice job, having been in the NFL, having been in the AAF. He really knew the players better than probably anybody in the league, and so that's how we assembled, I think, the team that we did. And I really am a believer in the offensive line. You got to have offensive line. I can find receivers, I can find a quarterback, but offensive linemen are the hardest to find. And Randy did a great job with that. And a couple of those players played for me in Canada, so we had them right away too. And it just made everything go faster.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys came out of the gates. It looked like everybody fit perfectly into what you wanted them to do on both sides of the ball, particularly on offense. So the scouting, we know, was just a tremendous effort from each of the teams, the general managers, and the league too. How was it working with the front office of the entire league with those guys as you were preparing with the summer showcases and into the draft? That was really fun to watch as football nerds here on the show.
Yeah, I kind of thought the showcases were a little bit more for PR than for actually finding. Although there were a few kids that actually made football teams from those showcases. You probably have the list of those guys in front of you, but it was really good that we got the front page of the Houston Chronicle, because of our showcase that we had in Houston, and the league did a really good job of organizing the scouts, the player development part of it, and I think I mean, I just think they did a real good job organizing that. We only got together on maybe as a group of all the head coaches. We went to Connecticut one time all together and got to meet, sit down, and talk. And but they were very open, asking us all the time what and how can we improve what we're doing, and I think they did a real good job organizing it.
Well, truthfully, it felt like the quality of play was delivering, right? I mean, all this prep work going into the to the season, it paid off, and Oliver, like, pushed that really quick. It's about the quality of the play and making sure we have great quality. But we saw it especially with your team, right? And just how deep was your talent pool on your team, and maybe just in general from the league's perspective, like there was so much talent on that field, both sides.
Well, we have, again, because I knew specifically, and I've done this before. This is the first time. Usually, every job that I take has been in the worst condition in the history of the NFL franchise or college, whatever it was. I mean, it was in the worst. So I felt really good about going in with an opportunity to be equal to everybody now. And so I knew we were going to be pretty damn good. And so when we had our last practice, I remember walking in on that Wednesday after practice, and our kids got a lot of reps, did a lot of running. We ran a lot of routes. And I remember that walking into the coaches meeting and saying, "Hey guys, I've not seen a practice like we just had before. These guys are finally getting it." And we ended up, I mean, I just knew the rest of the season we were going to blow everybody out of the water, I felt, because offensively we were so advanced to where I had ever been before. And, I wish we could have had it and proven that we were that way. But then the next morning we got the call and it was all for naught.
Yeah, just an unfortunate set of circumstances, of course, with the season ending short. But with that being said, you guys did look advanced. You did look great. You were 5-0. No one was stopping you. I think you had New York coming in. I was waiting for that game. I was so excited for that game. But regardless, Coach, what about the rules? I don't want to say the rules were catered too much towards you because, I mean, with the headsets and everything like that, it helped your offense quite much. Would there be any rules you'd change or want to see go away, or what was your favorite rule from the league?
Well, I kind of liked the not kicking the extra point. It took me a little while to kind of sort that out with the numbers, and finally at the end, I was just going to go for 3 every time. Which we pretty much did the last couple of games. I think I don't know the numbers, but I think we went for 3 more than any other team in the league. I figured, I've been in the red zone with what we're doing for 40 years, and I kind of knew from the 10-yard line we're going to score more than 30% of the time. So even if you hit it 2 out of 3 or 2 out of 4, it's like kicking the extra point, going for 1.
My favorite chant to come out of the season for sure. Go for 3. That was, I mean,
if you hit a 3-pointer, especially in a shootout game, I mean that puts a lot of pressure on the other team, and I don't. A lot of those coaches, they didn't necessarily go for 3 that much. I mean, they're playing a little conservative.
Yeah, well, I think that's by nature of the coaches themselves.
Yeah.
Most are conservative. I would like, though, to say that I thought all the rules, the kickoff, all that stuff, I thought was really, really well thought out, and everybody was getting it by the time we COVID got us. But I would like to see if we're lucky enough to be in the XFL again. I would think that something more like a 4-point field goal for everything over 48 yards, or put a number on where that is. Maybe it's 52 plus. You get 4 points for kicking. And I really think that eventually that's going to happen in college football and probably rule change. I would like to see the XFL be the first to do that as well.
Well, it was
I'd love that.
Games close, right? Keeping them close.
Yeah.
And that's why the what was it? The comeback period was created.
Yeah, that's
to help games keep
in the
close.
same vein.
So 4-point field goals, I'm totally fine with.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, is that something that you pitch that at all at the start when the coaches were all brought in? Were you guys able to pitch any rules or bring any ideas
Uh,
to the football ops?
well, basically, our conversations on the rules were just how are they going to be officiated? Like for example, you had to have your foot, at a certain place on the field inside of, 10 yards from the other team, and the numbers spacing was a little bit different, and so we were at that point more interested in just getting the safe and sound on the rule changes that they were going to implement. But as we went on, I had that conversation about the 4 point field goal for the future, but not for our inaugural season.
Oh, Coach, we've got a ton of questions. We've already asked you. We reached out to our listeners and XFL fans on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Reddit. We have a few questions we want to ask you from them here now. This one comes from Pixel Pete on Reddit, who's asking you, what do you think the biggest challenge for teams to address will be when rebooting the XFL in 2022?
Well, I think the biggest thing is always the players, the allotment of the players. Obviously, I think they're going to, again, we haven't had any discussions. I don't even know if I'm going to be involved. Hopefully I will be. But at the same time, I think the player, allotments, I would assume that we would have rights to all the players that were on our teams before. And if we didn't retain their rights by decision, then they'd go back into the pool available to other teams. But being able to evaluate the NFL cuts, the CFL, players that are available, those two things are probably the most key thing for getting it rebooted. Like I said, the camps. I don't think a lot of players came out of those camps, although I thought it was good. There were good players in it, but not a lot of them made the team. I think that if you can get the ex-NFL players and the CFL players that are not going to go back to their league or for whatever reason, or I noticed the NFL expanded they claimed it was because of COVID. They expanded the practice squad. That had nothing to do with the COVID. That had all to do with the XFL.
Yeah, we saw that coming, Coach. I have a feeling those might even expand even more because they're realizing just how many great players are out there. We saw a bunch of them in the XFL. That's for sure huge. We've been talking about that. What will they do? Will it just be allotted to the teams they were on before? Teams keeping rights. We're going to be following on this long road to 2022. Kev_new360 on Reddit wants to ask you, Coach, what was the selling point that made you decide to go to the XFL?
Well, I was going to get paid in American money instead of Canadian dollars. But just the opportunity. I was part of the USFL when it first cranked up. I felt like Vince McMahon was on solid ground, and had COVID not happened, I know we would have had a great second season. And they learned a lot from the first season. So I think more than anything, I'd lived in Houston. Some of my kids had gone to school in Houston because I was with the Oilers and the Gamblers. And so ability to go back to Houston was a real key.
Well, it was awesome to watch the Roughnecks in action, Coach, and you put together a hell of a team, helped put together a hell of a league. I no doubt think without COVID, the XFL Season 2 would have been awesome, and I think spring football is going to be here to stay eventually. How about you? Do you think spring football will eventually have a seat at the table once and for all on the American sports calendar?
Oh, well, I had, in 2013 or 14, I can't remember when it was, I thought that the non-Power 5 schools should go to the spring because they're losing the revenues. And you're seeing it now. It's going to force, the Power 5s, just even now with this COVID, the Coastal Carolinas, the Hawaiis, the Boise States, they're getting excluded, basically. And, I think there would have been a real opportunity 5 years ago to capture that TV market that Vince was able to capture with the XFL. And so I was a believer in spring football, number one. And we did it in the USFL. We went through that time too, and it worked. And the TV ratings were good. So I knew there was a market there.
Coach, before we let you go here, I just have one last. Oh, Vince, if you have something to say.
I was going to say it's going to be interesting because I believe a number of FCS programs are going to be playing in the spring this year. It'll be interesting to see how they do television-wise, which networks are broadcasting those, and how ratings do, and if they do well, that's even more enforcement for what you just said, that spring football, particularly the XFL, can do very well in the spring.
Yeah, no, I'm convinced there's a market for it. I was a long time believer in it, and I think hopefully it'll crank back up, and we'll get it all going again, and no COVID to interrupt us.
For sure, Coach. Yeah. Well, we appreciate all your time here, Coach. I just want to ask you this one thing that someone sent us on Instagram here. Some guy named Sam goes, who was your favorite employee at the office, and why was it Sam Schwartzstein?
Well, Sam wasn't in our office, but he was in the main office, and he did a great job. He was basically, I think, the through discussions, but I think he was instrumental in the rule changes, and he taught us all basically how to get it done. He did a great job.
Yeah, well, like many people in the XFL, great eyes for football all around, and that includes you for sure, Coach. So thank you. Unless you guys, we really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Mele Kaliki Maka, and enjoy the holidays.
Thanks,
you
Coach.
too,
Appreciate
Coach
it.
June Jones. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you maybe on the road to 2022.
Beautiful. We'll talk soon.
Coach June Jones on This Is the XFL Show. Well, I don't know if you could sing that song, but there's like really strict DMCA rules now, Brian. So be careful.
Sorry.
with the copyright stuff. But there it was, good crisp interview with Coach June Jones. Vince, you learn anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Very fascinating to hear how he was scouting different quarterbacks and how he ranked them, and how that whole process played out as far as player allocation went. Obviously that draft that happened, that was a huge event that you guys were up there covering. Just fascinating to hear a little bit of background information on all that.
Is there any doubt that June Jones had PJ number 1 and Jordan number 2? I mean, he knew what he wanted. He wanted that mobile, strong-arm quarterback, and that's what he was looking for. And he found the 2 best quarterbacks in the league, pretty much.
Yeah, and I had to say my favorite part of that was, and I'm mad I didn't even think to ask about it, because if you do I'm looking at his stops in his career, Vince, and he said everywhere I've been, it's been at the worst possible moment for that program, or at a bad moment, and I've had to build it up. He was finally on equal footing, and you saw what happened. So that was, I love that he said it too. Usually, coaches, real candid coach talk right there, not the normal coach speak from June Jones. And damn it, I hope he's back in the XFL in 2022, guys. That will be, that would just make it so sweet to see him and at least a few other guys return running these teams, because we had some good personalities and some good football being played in 2020, and we got a whole year now to go down this road, and plenty of interviews like that to come, plenty of live shows. If you're watching on YouTube or Instagram or on Twitter, welcome. Thank you. Follow us at XFL Show, and let's get it going. We've got some stuff to do here. We got some more show for you here. Besides June Jones, we got some little bits of news to talk about. I want to get into Vince's mind. He hasn't been on the show in a while, so leave your comments, leave your questions here on YouTube and on Twitter. We'll see them, and we'll pull them up, and we'll answer them. We'll highlight them. Let's go the rest of the way. Let's start this part off here. Let's call this, what's this segment called, Brian? Don't we have like a set piece? We started backwards today, so I'm all mixed up. Shouldn't we go cover 2? Can we go cover 2?
Who brings us our cover 2, Alan?
Oh, I love that part. That's my favorite part. Before we get to the cover 2, ladies and gentlemen, This episode is brought to you by Pretty Easy Podcasts, and you could get your own podcast started today by going to www.prettyeasypodcast.com. Get your own personal producer. Get the help you need to get your podcast sounding great, and you can focus on the content and they take care of the rest. Forget that technical stuff. You don't need to learn it. You just need a partner at prettyeasypodcasts.com, and they've got a great slogan that just encapsulates it all.
Making podcasting pretty easy.
Boom. There it is. And we are now ready for that infamous restaurant quality cover 2.
I'm wondering what the hell you're doing in this league.
There it is, June Jones. He even knew that. I bet you I gave you some of the best sound bites you guys have used on your show. And those, and I mean,
Go
come
ahead,
on.
get out of here.
All right, part 1 of the cover 2, though, real quick. Let's talk about. We don't get into the legal matters too much with since the bankruptcy, Bryant. But Oliver Luck and Vince McMahon, that issue is still being hashed out in court. I just want to talk about how this week it came out from Daniel Kaplan of The Athletic that Oliver Luck's company phone is like a major point of contention in this lawsuit, in the litigation. They're trying to get access to his phone to prove that he wasn't doing his duty as commissioner, and that's how they're going to try to not pay him. I have no stake in this whatsoever. None of us do, but I just think it's the company phone. I have never been offered. I think you have a company phone. If anyone ever offers me a company phone, I'm saying no, thank you. Why would you want one? They only cause trouble.
They cause trouble. There's a lot of security measures as a user of a company phone that you can take to avoid situations like this. But do you think they'll run up to Oliver Luck in court one day and be like, "What's up, Oliver Luck?" and then put the phone in his face, hopefully to activate the facial recognition or something like that? Maybe this is just a ploy to get him in.
That kind of stuff.
Was this not the text that you sent in March? And it opens the phone up. Great lawyering. Well, that's where that's at. We're not going to cover it too much because it really has nothing to do with XFL 2022 or anything football related, Vince. But I just thought that was cute that a little cell phone is the big major factor in that lawsuit.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm interested to see how that plays out. We all know Vince McMahon's got some excellent lawyers.
Yeah, he does, but I'm sure Oliver Luck does too, and he might even be a lawyer himself. I don't know. He's got like every degree. I'm sure he's like a scientist and a lawyer.
I was going to say, if you look what college he went to, they kind of give those out.
Hail to Pitt. All right, let's go. Part 2 of the cover 2. Real quick, at Nickelodeon, one of the used to be a great channel. I don't watch too much of it these days, Vince. I don't know about you. Bryant, you're the one with the kids, so you might be watching more of it.
Disney Channel right now, actually. But
they're going to be airing the wild card in the NFL, and they're going to superimpose slime into the end zone and have googly eyes on players and do all sorts of fun stuff, according to Sports Business Journal. This seems like something the XFL could have come up with for the presentation and expanding the audience to children, but this sounds really fun. I hope John Cena's hosting it.
That would be great. I mean, I don't know what demos. Certain those are all the rage these days. Demos. Which demographic your program is after. But that's crazy. I guess I kind of like it. For something like the NFL. There's all ESPN. Notorious for having games broadcast with all different kinds of. You could watch a game that's only on the Sky Cam. You could watch a game with coaches commentating on it. You can, all kinds of stuff. This is wild. I don't know if the XFL would do something like this, but I could see this being an interesting experiment to see a concept similar to this. I would say
for sure. Keep your comments coming, guys. We see them here on YouTube. We'll get to all of them here shortly. Real quick, do you think like ESPN sees an NFL game as like a wet towel, and they're just bringing it every little ounce of whatever they can get out of an NFL game? They try to put it on ESPN2, ESPN3. Now we're going to put it on Nickelodeon. Do you think the NFL wanted to? They're like, we've conquered the 18 to 49 demo. Let's go after the 9 to 17 demo now on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, the NFL. Clint's right. The NFL is trying to create new fans of the sport of football. That's true. I think if I was a kid watching Nickelodeon, I would have loved this. I loved like watching Rock and Jock on MTV and anything sports related on Nickelodeon. So I think this is a good strategy.
Well, let me ask you this, Alan, since you're all over this story. So, as far as I know, these wild card games, there's going to be more of them this year, 3 on each day. So there's going to be NBC is going to have one, ESPN, ABC is going to have one, then CBS and Fox. Is this just the ESPN game, or who's in bed with Nickelodeon on this one?
Well, Nickelodeon is a CBS station.
So that's a
Okay.
Viacom, so that's
Yeah.
got to be the CBS wildcard game. I'd assume if you know your media tree. Yeah.
Interesting.
Could be. I mean, unless there's some sort of deal. I didn't read
I
too
can't
much into it
imagine.
other than
I can't.
I just saw the slime and said we got to talk about slime in the end zone. That's really why I got excited. Real quick, before we get out of the cover to another quick piece of news. Last week we talked about the Vanderbilt coaching vacancy. Vince laughed at us for talking about Jonathan Hayes Bryant as a candidate. He interviewed for the job. He didn't get it. Notre Dame defensive coordinator Clark Lea did, but that's wrapped up. Vince is now here to scold us on our Vanderbilt knowledge.
Yeah, he also
So-
made fun of us on our Vanderbilt discussion. So that's
Yeah. I'm not gonna get too deep into that, but this Coach Leah here, he is a Vanderbilt alum, from what I understand. So I imagine that played a lot into it. And this guy, as you guys pointed out, a very difficult job to win at. Very difficult. The fact that he's
I would've
an
won it.
alum, the fact that I'm sure he's getting paid a good amount of money. If you're in the SEC, an SEC coach is probably getting at least $3 million a year, maybe $4 million a year. So I imagine, being an alum, he understands the culture there. He understands, the standards, what it takes to win there. So I imagine the hiring committee was very comfortable with this guy. As far as Coach Hayes goes,
Where's he go?
college. That's an interesting question. Colleges are always, you always hear, oh, this guy interviewed. Yeah, I don't necessarily. I'm sure he was, but I don't know how serious that of a consideration that he was. But this guy is a good coach. He did very well in the XFL, so I'd imagine, eventually down the road he's going to get a job, maybe in the XFL, in 2022. I wouldn't mind seeing
Back
it back
to
because
work
the Battlehawks.
we go.
The Battlehawks did very well, Bryant.
I mean, yeah, they were the best professional football team in the city by far.
Heck, just come on. Get out of here with that. Wrap up the cover
Great
two.
spam peanut butter sandwiches too, by the way. Great.
The best with jalapenos in them. All right. The hot read was June Jones. So the rest of this is just we're going to read and react. We're going to play some read option here, Vince. See what people are commenting and people are asking us here in YouTube and Twitter live. If you're listening to the podcast, you missed out. We're live. You got to check it out at XFL Show. We're going to be going live a lot more in 2022, so keep an eye out whenever we do this. This will be coming out to the podcast feed as well. But how about David Ridley? Just want to say thank you for being down since day one. Even though you got Scam Newton there on your avatar, we appreciate you listening or watching on YouTube. And then I like this one, Bryant. This one's interesting. Do you agree with this one? Vince, get your Wilson on. We can only see your eyes. Rangers King 669 said, would love to see Jeffrey Pollock appear on the show just like Luck used to back in the day. It's pretty clear he's the new commissioner now. I don't know about that. Is it clear? Do you think Jeffrey Pollock gets named new commissioner in 2022? Something we haven't really examined or speculated on just yet on who the commissioner will be, if there will be a commissioner. I don't know about that. It's clear to me. I'll say Jeffrey Pollock is going to be very heavily involved at the top of the food chain with the XFL and the new ownership. He's stuck around since the league went bankrupt and closed up shop. So whether it's the commissioner, I don't know.
2020. He was a big
Yeah.
part behind the scenes.
He was the
wasn't
president.
face. He was the president. He put the TV deals together. He got all the team presidents in line. He did all that, all the business aspects of it all. That was him. Football was Oliver Luck. Jeffrey Pollock was the business aspect, and he's going to be a big part of it. This is the first time I'm even thinking about him being the actual commissioner of the league. What that means to the new owners, who knows? But I do have something from Instagram here, Alan. This is a Captain 3193. He says, thoughts on the new owners. Vince, maybe you, because we've talked about them a few times.
Yeah, you gotta like it. I mean, you got a group with some deep pockets. You got a strong woman heading up the ownership, and of course, you got The Rock, the most electrifying man in all the world. So yeah, it seems like a good situation. It's still very early on. I'm sure they're laying all the groundwork right now. We'll know this time next year, how good a job they've done. But it's gotten me excited, no doubt about that.
Well,
Yeah,
just
we
a
can't
comparison,
speak
'cause we
to
like
the
do
job
this.
they've done yet. Yeah.
Yeah. By this time in 2018, we had already known the cities. So we're still kind of on par with where we were in terms of the timeline for kickoff in 2020.
Yeah, keep tabs on that, on looking back on where we were at this point in time, Brian. We're going to have to do a lot of that throughout the coming year because those mile markers will indicate what's coming up, what information we might be getting, where we should probably be. Because if you were a fan of the XFL in 2020 and thought things were done the right way, then you're going to want to see, I think, a similar timeline and spacing of announcements and decisions being made. But we'll see how it goes. Nicholas on YouTube saying that he was a Dallas Renegade season ticket holder. Sad to see them go. Us too. I don't think we'll ever see Landry Jones play quarterback again, Vince. So that's a major bummer. Which team are you excited to see back on the field in 2022, though, Vince? I guess we can get into this. I've been wanting to hear what Vince thinks as of now, because a few months ago he had some ideas on what cities would be getting teams again. Where are you at now, Vince? What teams are you excited to see return, or maybe new teams and old teams coming together in 2022?
New teams and old teams under a new banner. I did enjoy the Renegades play. They're probably one of my favorite team, taking everything into account. Coach Hal Mummy, watching him, do his thing on the sidelines, that was just tremendous television. If I could get more of that in 2022, I'd be all over it. And of course, the Houston Roughnecks, June Jones, watching that system, PJ Walker slinging it all over the yard. That's good football. That's exciting football. That's what the XFL is to me. Those Texas teams, I want to see more of them in 2022.
Well, you have somebody here.
Real quick, Brian. Sorry, I saw someone in the comments. I can't scroll back and find it right now, but I saw someone said the Texas Roughnecks are going to rule the roost in 2022.
Well, they were good enough to rule that entire state. So let's just be real. They were the Texas.
I like that they won the Texas Throwdown. Is that what we called it? The TexFL Showdown in 2020. Because they won that, if there's going to be one Texas team in 2022, it should be Houston. I guess that's what that settled.
Well, there'll be two. Don't worry. But Daniel Lodi 209 on Instagram goes, "Let's talk about a team in Northern California." Now, here's my problem with this: there's nowhere for them to play. You can't play a team. We're talking about putting teams in New Jersey for New York. You can't put this team in Levi Stadium. Where are they going to play?
I don't know I don't think there's a strong enough market or desire for football in Northern California. Northern California.
I don't know about that.
I
think there's market. There's just like Brian said, nowhere to play. That's the issue.
Maybe San Jose. Maybe the San Jose Earthquakes, right? Maybe you can play in their stadium.
Or the San Jose State University, where they play at.
I'm perfectly fine with the 8 cities that they have. I don't see a reason to leave any of them because you didn't give them enough time. We've already talked about this a few times, but it seems to be a hot button topic, right? Why would you leave any of the cities right now?
Would you, Vince? Do you have new cities you're looking for?
Well, I don't know how, like Tampa, for example. It doesn't seem like it, at least from an. I mean, I'm not living down in Tampa. I don't have family there, Alan. But it didn't seem like it was, that. Yeah, because and I think also part of it is because of these enormous NFL stadiums that they're playing in. It makes it hard to really, grasp what the enthusiasm and the electricity is there. If you're playing like in Washington D.C., where the Defenders were at, they're playing in a small soccer stadium. I thought that was, that it needs to be more of that. Yeah, make it an event, make it a party. Didn't, at least on TV, didn't come across that way in Tampa. Didn't come across that way in New York City. I'm not saying
it would have if they played in not just a gigantic, huge, biggest stadium in the country. I mean, they would. I went to Guardians games. They were loud,
Same
but
with the Wildcats games.
sound dies.
Do whatever you gotta do.
That's my.
The Wildcats have some work to do. Brian, that's your job.
There is a lot of entertainment in LA, and I know there's a lot of people, but I don't know if that's really the best.
You want it now? I'm gonna give it to you right now.
If you really want to get a community behind something, make it a place where they could really go all in on it.
I'd love to play at that Bank of California Stadium or whatever it's called now, but supposedly you can't play football there, so only football.
Only football, yeah. They're very strict about that. That the LAFC, they want to keep that sacred ground. Brandon Anderson, I like this question, Vince. Current NFL starter or backup that's not doing their best that would make an XFL roster. Who do you got?
This is a Vince question.
You want to see?
This is all Vince.
That would make an XFL roster.
I'd like to see play.
I think anyone could. They could currently in the NFL could make an XFL roster. I would say who's maybe likely to be in the XFL or could potentially be. We would want to rephrase that question.
Oh, well, there's a lot of guys out there that I do want to see. I'll give a star.
Andy Dalton.
I still think Andy Dalton could find his way in the NFL. I'll give a close to home answer, and I'm going to say a Mason Rudolph for the Steelers, who, when he has come in for Big Ben, has not been the best, and this was a guy who really excelled in a wide open college offense, a guy with a really strong arm. And hasn't necessarily clicked in the NFL. He is maybe somebody I think could benefit a lot from an XFL year as a starter and really get some good tape out there and some good, real meaningful game time experience. A guy that maybe needs a fresh start. And he's very young, so it's not like he's at the end of his career. He could maybe afford to go down there for a year and build himself back up. What do you think, Al?
I mean, I think Mason Rudolph has a lot of opportunities he's still going to get. I don't know if he'd be a candidate to go to the XFL this quickly in his career. I think he could get one more backup contract or at least a practice squad. Like, I want to say Dwayne Haskins too, but like guys like that will get opportunities still just because they're so young to be backups.
Haskins has looked horrible. He's looked really bad. And if he has to start Alex Smith being hurt, so we may have to see Dwayne Haskins, the team, playing this week. He talk about somebody who's playing for their job. Dwayne Haskins, it will be. So
I'm praying for Ryan Fitzpatrick, but I don't know if that he still has some more NFL teams he's yet to play for. He's got to get all 32. I like Formath here on YouTube says Cam Newton's got 1 year and looks really bad. What about former Heisman?
He's got so much money. He'd rather just not play.
I don't know. What if he wants to have fun in the XFL?
I guess.
Someone will give him $2 million to sit on the bench. It's fine. With what you're seeing with Mariota and Andy Dalton, backups are going to start getting paid like $5 million now. There's not going to be a $1 million backup.
They already do. Yeah, there's so many mediocre quarterbacks in the NFL. You need them. Yeah. It's hard to see any of those guys really fall into the XFL. I would anticipate more guys like Jordan Ta'amu or PJ Walker, who had big time success in college and maybe just aren't getting that shot at the NFL right away that will have to go to the XFL. That you'll see younger quarterbacks.
Yeah, and the timing is interesting. So I think you gotta, because you're thinking college players now, they're gonna get a shot in the NFL next year. So I think it's gonna be guys that get cut and don't make practice squads in the 2021 NFL season. Those are gonna be the guys that you really got to target for the player pool for the XFL.
All right, guys, we are winding down here. We've got these. We got a caca there. You got there for Kyle, and Kyle's been down since the beginning of the show. So give him a Battlehawks chant too.
Look at this.
And there you go.
Kyle, where have you been, man? Like, this was him this morning at 3 hours before go live. In the meantime, I'll go back and watch last week's episode. Kyle,
Kyle was doing wind sprints on the YouTube channel before we even got here. He was in the stadium working out, getting ready.
Well, if you're going to play for June Jones, you better be doing your wind sprints, because unless you're hurt, he ain't taking you out of the game.
I love that. Oh, man, that was just to play and the run and shoot. It's a lot of fun, but physically taxing. And man, I feel like guys left. Cam Phillips might have been able to have more touchdowns. I had that question geared up to. We didn't want to keep Coach Jones too long, but they could have scored more points. They could have scored more points than they did. Honestly, watching
if I knew
tape
he was
back,
in Oregon
Brian.
on the West Coast, I would have kept him. I thought it was already lunchtime for him, but anyway. Real quick, I like this question. I know you guys aren't too. Oh wait, no, sorry, it wasn't this one. It was. Where is it?
Well, that was a good question. I don't know why you.
Hey guys, which two XFL teams do you think will kick off the season? Knowing what you know now, who do you think?
There's the Texas Roughnecks. I like that.
Who do you think would be the choice to kick off the season? Knowing what you know now with the teams and the fan base and the excitement that they could bring.
Seattle at DC. That's my pick. Run it back.
That was the same one? Okay.
Run it back.
Do you think they didn't do the Battle Dome on the first week because really the Battle Dome made every other stadium in the league look pretty heinous?
I would think you'd want to start with your biggest and best looking crowd first. So I'd go St. Louis. That's what I wanted. That we said that going into 2020, we were hoping St. Louis would open the season.
I wanted Tampa Bay to be early because I knew that they were not going to look as appealing on TV. So you want to get that hype in there early rather than in week 3. But there's that as well. Dirty, I see you too, friend. We'll text later. He's on here somewhere. I saw him.
Caca to you, Dirty. Caca to everybody in St. Louis. And we're almost out of time here, Vince. Unless you got anything else, we picked your brain on the cities, some players. June Jones, your number one coach you want to see back in 2022?
Hey, as far as the head coaches, yeah, absolutely.
I was gonna say.
No doubt about it.
That's not too difficult.
Hal Mummy is probably number one coach overall that he wants to see in the league.
Yeah. Let's see those two guys go at it some more. I was so looking forward to that Thursday night showdown that we were going to have
week
in
9,
what was it, late
week
March,
9 or week
early
10,
April. I didn't get to see it, but hopefully
we had a bachelor party scheduled around that game.
It was going to be wild.
Rowdy. But we'll wait till 2022. We'll do it all over again. We're going to run it back. We're going to be on this road all year long with you right here on the YouTube channel at XFL Show. Bryant, great idea going live. This was a lot of fun, and we will be doing it again.
We'll do it again. It's a lot of fun. Keep your questions coming. We could probably answer some of these on Twitter later on today, too. It's a lot of comments and concerns, but we're here for you. Episode 149. This is for you. Follow us on all our social media gimmicks at XFL Show. You can also subscribe to our podcast. Tell your friends about us on your favorite podcast platforms. That is Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And YouTube.com/This Is the XFL Show, the official YouTube channel of This Is the XFL Show. Make sure you subscribe. You can say hi to everyone. Say hi. And Vince, say hi. You've been gone for a little bit. Everyone misses you. Everyone asks about you. I thought you were done, like in life in general. But hey, you're back. I haven't even talked to you for like 6 months.
Don't
You talked to him last week on the other show.
I talk to Brian all the time. At least once a week, sometimes more, and not just about football. We talk about all kinds of things, barbecue, Mexican food. We're always talking, me and Bryant. Can't wait to. I'm just really excited. It was a blessing to talk to both of you guys today. I can't wait to do it again real soon.
Me and Vince's conversations depend on UCLA spread and what's going on at barbecue. It's pretty much how me and Vince communicate now during the week, or if there's a big event happening at the Staples Center.
I can't wait to do it again and get even better at doing this show. At least just 1% better next time, Vince. That's the goal. And hopefully, I tried for him this week, but he was busy, too busy for us. But original co-host Jake. We'll try to get him in 2022. Biggest goal of the year. Might be my resolution, Brian. What? Timeout. What are you doing here? What's the name of the other show? Ooh. It's called Brainbuster Radio, Roberto. Check it out. It's on a whole nother feed. That's a whole nother thing. We don't have time to get into it right now because we are out of time. We got a lot of work to do wrap this year up, say good riddance to 2020. And get on that road to 2022. Bryant, next week's Christmas on a Friday. Do we have a show coming out? We're taking the week off. It's your call. I'm putting you on the spot.
We don't take weeks off. What are you at? We've never taken a week off while there's XFL football coming up. So there will
be a Christmas episode on Christmas coming out.
Yeah,
on Friday.
Don't work Christmas. What are you talking about?
What? I'll be doing it. I'll be here for it. All right, we got the Christmas episode, so that's technically 2 holiday specials coming out. Although it won't be live next week. We're gonna have to figure out when we do that. I'm sure we got a lot of Feliz Navidading, at least in my neck of the woods. I can't wait to get back up to the snow, Vince. I'm coming. I'll see you this weekend, or maybe on Monday for some outdoor snow football watching.
Yeah, we had about I'd say it was about 8 inches at least of snow, maybe a little bit more than that. In the Northeast.
Tired of this sunshine down here in the 305, Brian. I'm getting out of here. I'll talk to you from Pittsburgh next week, all right?
Great.
Let's rock. All right, everybody. Thanks again for watching live. Thanks for subscribing to the YouTube channel, following us on social media at XFL Show, and, of course, leaving those reviews and subscribing to the podcast feed. For Coach June Jones, for Vince, for Brian, I'm Alan. This is the XFL Show. Remember,
they're listening.